Hi, welcome to the Seven Figure Builder Show. My name is Julie Baranek, founder of Seven Figure Builder, where we help high achieving business owners save time in their schedule every single week by implementing marketing automation to grow and scale their businesses to seven figures and beyond. I'm here with my friend today, Marilen Crump. Welcome, Marilen. I'm so glad to have you.
Nice to be here. I'm so excited.
Yeah, me too as well. So, for people that have not had the pleasure to meet you before, can you tell me a bit what you do with your business?
Yes, so I'm a business developer and marketing strategist. I've been in business now for 23 years plus and just very excited. I love helping people who are in that midst of like new growth. And so most of my clients have been in business for around like 2 years, and they're really needing to clean up a lot of the processes and also just get more educated in how they can succeed in this type of world where marketing's moving fast. And of course, a lot of the different systems that most people aren't aware of, they can really start incorporating for more efficiency.
Absolutely. So what do you help them specifically dig into? Is it more the strategy or the marketing, or where do you help them out?
It's really nice that it's tailored. What I find is that strategy, of course, ties in with marketing. And when people are looking to scale or looking to make some changes, there's a lot of bottlenecks that they don't see. So my main point is looking at a business from the top view and just seeing where the blind spots are.
Yeah. And that's so helpful to have that external mirror, right? There's so much that we don't see when we're so eyeball deep in our business that it's so helpful just to have that coach and say, wait, have you thought about this or thought about that? And, brings it to a new light.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what do you think makes marketing so effective or most effective for business owners?
I think these days, if you're authentic, but also the word consistency
Mhm.
is going to be very important there. So if you're overthinking it these days, then you're doing too much.
Mhm.
Most of what comes out of people that we actually gravitate to now is kind of not as polished. So when you look at things that are successful like TikTok or even social media, we're not looking for that old style of marketing and branding where every single thing was scrutinized. It's more like who's going to get out there today, be out there first, start kind of attracting people because of like the essence of the business versus like something that's very contrived.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And what do you recommend for people to get out of their comfort zone and to be more transparent and to be authentic in their real self? I know a lot of us really struggle with that, especially when you're first starting out and figuring out who I am, what it is that I have to offer. But what do you recommend for that?
I tell people don't be afraid to not be perfect because people will pay to see a train wreck, right?
You can't look away.
They're like, wait, let me add that thing. So it's almost like we are observing everybody's hero's journey
Mhm.
nowadays. So when we say, hey, I'm brand new on the scene, I might not do everything right. Here's my brand, but here's my intention. And I really want to help people. I think these days people are more compelled to try it out, try you out,
Mhm.
because we also observe how quickly one person can move just by flexing those muscles. So if you're nervous about being criticized, I think that's kind of old thinking that you kind of have to move into this world where people want to give their 2 cents. They also want to feel like they grew with you.
Mhm.
So the more you can involve people in that growth and kind of tell that story, then people feel connected. And of course, they're going to keep supporting you. As long as you're doing right by them,
Of
they're going to
course.
keep telling your story. They know in and out, like how you got started and all of these wonderful things. And then they become advocates of yours. That's so much more powerful than trying to be super perfect and then letting yourself down because you got something wrong. I tell people just get over that part of it. Be you, be human, and just show people your heart.
Yeah, totally. Now, looking over your business, have you ever had to completely and unexpectedly change course in your business, or has it been pretty consistent where you started out?
Well, I started in the year 2000. So a lot of the things that was going on back then do not exist now, like yellow pages and all these other slower pieces of marketing. And I always feel that because I've had the chance to reinvent so many times due to what the market was asking of me, it's been exciting. I still get to learn. I don't have to feel like I have to know everything. I
Mhm.
just have to be courageous and brave to try new things, new platforms, etc. So I'm always in the constant flow of what can we do better today than what we did yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's so critical to really, when you know who your ideal client is and who you're trying to serve, that you're able to pivot and really figure out what it is that they want from you instead of just, I have a product that I want to sell, right? It's what are their needs, and as their needs change, then your offerings may change, right?
Exactly, exactly. And then I tell people if I don't know it, then I probably wouldn't suggest it and I'll probably refer somebody to somebody else. So it's always my goal, like if my client wants to try something, that I get out there first and almost like make the mistakes. So I say
Yeah.
most of what I teach is what not to do, right? Like most of us who are ahead of that, who are building businesses and helping others do the same, we're really navigating them through some of the pitfalls.
Yeah. And how would you say that you stay feeling connected to people? Like it can be very isolating to be on camera or to be, behind your social media. And how do you get that one-on-one connection and that fulfillment?
Well, I've always been involved in my community. So currently I'm serving on the board of my Chamber of Commerce. So I'm never out of touch and I'm visiting local businesses as well. So most of my portfolio, it depends on the, I guess, clientele that I have. It can range from like 50 to 70% locally based versus just online. So it's nice because I can see some of the challenges that people might have in their market based on what's going on in my market. And it gives me just a little bit more of an edge to know for people to know that I do serve people face to face.
Mhm.
Because sometimes online, you're like, who are these people? What kind of credibility do they have?
Yeah.
Right. And like, I think when you don't ignore your local market, it's always a benefit because there's people that you can serve right here in your community that one will tend to actually engage with you faster than somebody online because they've seen you out and about and almost
Mhm.
like they know where you live. So if you do them wrong,
Right.
they're kind of they're kind of like, hey,
That gives
I
you
know a
credibility
grocery
because
store.
they know you're a real
That's
person.
right.
Yeah.
Exactly, exactly.
So does that make you feel that's like a whole new element, right? Does it make you feel like you have to be on all the time when you're at the grocery store, or do people come up to you?
I think it depends on like how you live. Me, it's kind of this is what you get.
Yeah.
So me here, me at the grocery store, hanging out with the PTA, at the chamber, online, it's pretty much that. Because nowadays there is no, Wizard of Oz kind
Yeah.
of marketing, right? Where you're kind of saying we when you're not really we. Like,
Right.
how people would say,
Right.
we do this when you're really just a solo person. Nowadays, it's kind of like, hey, look at my home office. Here's my kids playing near me while I do that, and I'm growing all these other brands. So in my perspective, this era that we're in, you could be so authentic that you won't feel exhausted trying to be something you're not. Just be you.
Yeah. I find it so much easier to do that. I always joke with my husband. From my entire life, I'm a horrible liar. I never took the time to learn. Honestly, like
Yeah, because you're
it,
keeping track of that
it's
stuff. You
so
might as well
difficult.
just be
It's like,
free.
just be you. Like, just be real with people. And it's so much easier.
Yeah. And I like being out and about. I have 5 kids. And what's great about the balance that we have here at the household is that I'm the one kind of getting out there. My husband does a lot of the coordination with the kids. We have our twins who are special needs. So there's a lot of hands on with that. And he's able to do that. And then I'm able to do what I need to do. And when it's refreshing, right, to be up in different discussions than what you normally have at home. So I like that balance, maybe because I'm a Libra. Like I just like having that kind of like assortment in my week and my life.
Yeah, that's huge. And how do you feel like you juggle it all, right? Like it's awesome that you have your husband that, we do a lot of the same in my house. Like we both, are very hands-on in our house. But what is your recommendation or suggestion for that?
I think if you're organized, I'm big on efficiency. So I do put a lot of things where I can write it down and look at it, reevaluate before I get into it.
Mhm.
I think sometimes people say yes to too many things and they can't quite handle it all. And then you're just doing things out of obligation versus intention. So I feel like if I'm very intentional with my day and in my week, it's easier than me like trying to just put out fires or all the things that I noticed with other people who just seem so frazzled about life.
Right.
And I'll say, well, how do you do that? They don't write anything down. They don't have a calendar.
Oh my
They're not
goodness.
using technology to automate certain things, or they're not delegating. All of these things that I feel like as you grow as an entrepreneur, there's a lot of letting go and
Yeah,
releasing, saying no, right?
absolutely. Yeah. And what type of automation do you use in your business? What do you feel has helped you the most?
I really love just like the simplest tools, like Zapier is fantastic, where you can just do some different autoresponders. I've recently discovered like Paperform. It's awesome because I can make some forms really quickly, intake different stuff, promote different things, and then have an auto response going on with that.
Mhm.
I think for when you think of automation, sometimes it doesn't have to be platform wise. It can also be like your team's workflow.
Yep.
So if I create the workflow and experiment with it here and there, I let my team use whatever tools they're comfortable with, because I tell people it's not about like having a fancy system. It's about having a system you actually use,
Right.
right?
Absolutely. And in all of those, it's so important to have that personal touch. Like automation to me is worthless if it feels like you're talking to a machine. So the more
Right.
personal it can be, truly, people just shut off, right? They're like, whatever, I really want to talk to a person. How many of us have been on the phone up, I know myself all the time with the pharmacy or whatever, and you're just saying, talk to representative, like I want to talk to a person. And it ends up, being counterproductive. But yeah.
Right. And you don't quite know what you're getting because it feels, like you said, a little cold.
Mhm.
And I have some clients that eventually want to use things like AI or these types of avatar
Mhm.
things to do a lot of content where there's a person looking like they're talking. But when I look at it and the eyes don't change, the
Yes,
expressions are
there's some
like frozen,
giveaway.
it just still feels like I'm not a big fan of that yet. I understand why people would want that, where they can just take clumps of text, throw it in the program, and then a person's talking. But it has such a monotone thing, and you're missing out on some of like the oops, oh, wait a minute, my okay, we're back. La 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 la, right? Where
Right.
people like go, oh, they're human like me. Look, they just made a mistake, or they say a lot.
Yeah. And I think we're gonna, as humans, become more and more sensitive to it. The more people are using AI to generate content, and the more, same with the algorithms, right? Google's becoming more and more sensitive to the AI generated content, where you're not going to get the rankings in SEO that you think you would by generating all that content. So I think we'll all become more and more sensitive, where it sounds fabulous, where I can plug in a spreadsheet and generate, 1,000 different, pieces of content. It may not be quite what you're thinking it is, but
Exactly, exactly.
yeah, but it is cool to speed things up too. So what is the hardest challenge you've had to overcome in your life or in your business?
So the biggest hurdle I've had to deal with was on a personal level, and it has been like years ago now. So I'm fully recovered from that. But what was interesting is that because I've been an entrepreneur ever since college, I've never had a boss. It's just been a blessing to be able to unplug and really deal with things on a personal level. So I went through a divorce, and having two little kids, it was just really too much for my brain to
Mhm.
be able to like handle it all, show up, etc. So one of the things that I find so beneficial when you own your destiny in a way, and it's your business, you can do things like take care of something totally life changing and be able to get back into a flow. And that really is kind of like the way I try to think about when I'm helping other people run their business, that this could be something that is going to carry you through tough times, not hopefully creating the tough times through the business, but
Right.
mainly if you're having a personal tough time, that if you're building the systems and you're building a business that can help you go through that, it's a gift.
Absolutely. And I've been through similar tough times, and I know it's really shaped who I am today. And while it's not ideal, it's not something you want to go through. It helps you become who you are and makes you stronger and really feeds what you do with the rest of your life.
I agree.
That's awesome that you pulled through and, made something incredible out of some challenging times.
And it becomes part of like how you can support others. Because if
Mhm.
you've never dealt with anything tough, then you're gonna feel, or you're gonna be tone deaf
Yeah,
to somebody else having a struggle. So, like you said, it makes it so that your perspective of getting through it could be somebody's kind of inspiration to get through something themselves.
right. And you never know who's watching you as far as positively, but people that have been following you online and are often very quiet and don't say anything. I had someone reach out to me the other day and they're like, "Oh, I've been watching you for a while." And I'm like, "Oh, I've never talked to you before," but it's really cool to see that you have an impact on people that you don't even realize that you do.
Yes. And doesn't it fuel you for like days upon days when someone mentions that you're like, oh my gosh,
Right? It makes
I'm
you
so
think about what are you
glad.
posting and okay, how can I help people more, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's so cool. So looking back, if you were going to do things differently and build things from scratch tomorrow, right? Would you do things differently or how would you change what you did before, if at all?
If at all. Well, probably not at all.
And that's
But
even better.
I think, yeah, I think it's mainly like if I were to talk to my past self, is just to kind of say, you're doing great for what you were equipped with.
Mhm.
And, and the journey will continue. And it's one of those things that I've learned through self-development that everything shapes who you are today. But then it's like there's always something new that's going to shape you. So there's never this lull. So
Mhm.
I always say that certain challenges do ground me and keeps me thinking on my feet and it keeps me creative. Although I do like when life is easier, like who
Right.
doesn't? Um, but hopefully, the challenges that are being presented are now because of something I chose that was a bigger leap, right? Not because I didn't do anything about it. Like I took it lying down. Like I never want that. And I would like for others to feel like, even if you just get up a little bit and just make a little difference over what's really kind of bothering you, that's something, and that's something that could lead into a new discovery and you can become eventually like the success story you've always thought about. But it starts in those moments where you're like, it's just too much, it's too bleak. I say, breathe, let's take one step and then let's see how far we get the rest of the days ahead, right?
What would you say is your proudest accomplishment other than your beautiful children, of course?
Oh, I think mostly it is being able to share with my clients the wisdom that I've acquired. I think my biggest accomplishment is having the all the information and kind of gathering it so that people can access that. It's one, it's a good benefit for me so that I can pull from it and
Right.
use it later and kind of build upon it. But then also because I love being able to share things quickly with others that they can go ahead and access that stuff. So I think as a business, having accomplished that, that's pretty cool because sometimes people go, "Oh, I didn't save that, or I didn't take a picture of that, or I didn't record that, blog that, etc." So I'm here to tell you, save everything you can get one of those 1-2 terabit type of things and just start collecting your content and just it's a fun journey to look back. Oh, look at my hair used to be shorter, or oh, look at my client when they were first starting and now they're big time. So I love things like that.
So how do you organize it and then be able to go back and find things quickly?
I like being able to use like more of a date system because it ingrains in my head more. I'll remember like, oh yes, I did it that year because there's something that's going to trigger that. And I also have my paper-based calendar. I get the same calendar from Barnes and Noble every year
Mhm.
because when I file it, it's like organized that way. And then I could flip through and go, oh yeah, there it is. But nowadays, if you're putting things on a database, one of my favorite databases is Notion. Notion.so is where you can get there and you can get like a free account. A personal account is $5 a month. It's like a no-brainer type of thing. But that kind of platform, if you're putting things in there, and you use the search option, it's so cool. You'll find things pretty easy and it just makes your life more efficient.
Yeah. Yeah. My life is in Evernote, Dropbox, and Google Calendar. Between
So you
all of
know.
Yeah. It's funny how you get in those routines. Like I am, yeah, a big note taker. I write everything down and I always go back and search things later. But I'll be standing at the grocery store and I'm like, Control F, Command F. Like I want to find things. Like, wait, I can't do that.
You're like, hey, people, I'm running a business right now. So give me
Right.
some of those bananas.
Right, exactly. It's yeah, it's funny how your brain gets wired that way. But
Hmm.
so working with your clients, you work with a variety of clients, right? What is one idea that you find that the majority of people, it may not be your clients, but the majority of people get wrong?
That marketing is something very specific. Marketing to me, the way I teach it and the way I facilitate it, I split it up to four different categories. You have your brand, which is beyond logos. There's so much that go with just brand.
Mhm.
Marketing to me is the data. Like it's going to be the tracking of everything that's being done. And then from there, you have public relations. That's how you create the conversations around your brand, which is tracked by your marketing. And
Mhm.
then you have promotions. That's really where you close the conversation and then really create that systemized way of transacting. So if you have those pieces aligned and also mapped out, then you could see like if you're slightly doing too much of one thing versus another, and if you can just even it all out, it actually starts working better. So that's to me one of the biggest issues. People, they go, I need marketing. And I go, okay, well, that's like, saying I need food. Like, what kind of food? Like, there's so much to eat, right? There's so many different ways that you could digest that. Same thing with marketing. It's not a blanket thing. You have to have all those four components.
Yeah, and to your point of alignment, they need to be in alignment across the board. Otherwise, if your branding is off, but your marketing is just yelling louder, you're communicating the wrong message at a more effective pace, which is not going to get you where you want to go, right?
Correct. And you're creating a lot of busy work that doesn't lead to a sale.
Right. And looking ahead in your business, what desires keep tugging at your heart?
Well, I think my main thing is I would really love to expand on teaching children how to be in business.
Mhm.
They're just so much more exposed, right? The children are to different forms of thinking and they're seeing things on the internet and YouTube, etc. Um, I teach sometimes at the school, like volunteer to talk about my career, etc. And literally, when I ask all the kids, what do they want to be? Everybody wants to be on YouTube. And I'm like,
Of course.
oh, well, there's more to life
Right.
than YouTube. So I want to just keep getting out there and maybe create a way for certain kids to really explore the depths of business. And then that could be a way for their whole household to benefit because, unfortunately, sometimes the parents are already obligated towards a certain career, they have benefits, they have all these things. So if let's say we raise our children to be part of the change in the family, to be a different part of the legacy, I just think that that might help improve certain households.
I absolutely love that. I think that's awesome. And I hope that the schools will take you up on that. And I absolutely love it. I was just listening to Grant Cardone and one of his seminars, and he was talking about the same thing. And he has like a 10x for kids and saying, in the schools, we have 12 years of schools and no classes on marketing, no classes on business, no classes how to be a success in your business, how to be an entrepreneur, none of it, right? We've got every other topic under the sun, but nothing about how to, I mean, even my kids, they're like, we don't learn how to balance a checkbook. Not that we do that anymore, but to manage your finances, to anything, right? And thankfully, we do it at home, but a lot of people don't. So,
What exactly? That's exactly right. And when you look at traditional schools, in the whole breadth of humanity, they didn't exist like that. And when the industrial age happened and they couldn't do child labor anymore, which is a good thing.
right. Agreed.
They decided let's institutionalize these children to learn in a way where there's like a classroom and you have an instructor, right? literally supervisor heading up the thinking process. So if you look at the way people teach their kids who are like in the tech field, they're actually in low tech Montessori style learning places. Whereas our children, if you do public school, they tend to be more in like that traditional, here's a supervisor, only talk when you're spoken to, or if you raise your hand, everything's like blocked in that schedule, and use a lot of technology because they're training you to be the ones like inputting things. And if we kind of are just like kind of like, okay, we see the structure, there's still ways, yes, to work around and supplement that so that your kids, that's not the only thing that they're bringing in. So there are benefits to being in a school environment, in my opinion. But if you really look at the way other change makers are raising their children, you'd be very surprised that it's vastly different from the way yours are being raised.
Yeah, totally agree. And they need to be able to survive and excel in structure, right? That's hugely important for our kids. But they also need to be able to think above and beyond and question things respectfully, but question things of why am I being taught this and what does it mean to me, and to know why they believe what they believe, you know?
Exactly. Exactly. Because we all have different gifts. And sometimes, we don't need to learn certain stuff if eventually we're going to do something else, right? Like every type of test, it's not like really shaped for a specific kind of kid. It's just a very general,
Right.
like, hey, hopefully you pass this, you know?
Exactly. So what can people expect from you next?
Well, you definitely will be hearing about some of those kid-based programs, but a lot of it is really just me giving back more of what I discover. I have a group on Facebook called Generating Profits, and actually we take that content and put it on a website, generatingprofitsshow.com. And so there's tons of training out there. I just want to be able to like clear up anything that may be explained wrong. Like sometimes YouTube's great, but some things are kind of repetitive content and isn't, you can't like really engage with the source half the time. So if like let's say you're seeing things come from me and just the stuff that we're putting out, it's very intentional to make sure that people do get the right support. So more of that to come.
Awesome. Awesome. If you had the attention of the whole world for 5 minutes, what would you say to them?
I would say feel free to just pause everything that you're doing, like step outside and just kind of soak in that there's more to life than we sometimes like stop and observe. And if we could just relax our brains for a minute or two, that, we might discover something cool about just where we're standing in life.
I love that. Very good advice. And you mentioned a little bit, but where can listeners support you in your work?
Sure. Well, look me up, hashtag expert dream catcher. I love that title because it's really all about like being able to see what your passions are and how we can support you in that. MarilenCrump.com is pretty much the hub of everything that I do. So keep in touch. I like, being present in certain different platforms. So if you see me on there, feel free to connect.
Awesome. Yes, definitely check her out. And you can definitely look us up on sevenfigurebuilder.com as well. And I look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Thank you so much, Marilen. Appreciate it.
Thank you.